Welcome, everyone, to the Travel Podcast by ExcursionPass. We are so glad you're tuning in today.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
We love getting ahead of all those objections and doubts you might have about different travel experiences.
Oh, absolutely. Like, we are practically that expert couple who has lived the experience, and we just want to share every single vivid detail with you.
Right, we want to tell you about it so well that it literally feels like you're living the experience right now just by listening.
Exactly. And, we try to keep it fun, maybe throw in a few jokes here and there. But today, we are diving deep into a very specific excursion in the Algarve.
Yep, the 7-hour Flow Adventures land tour. It goes from Faro to Benagil, Marinha Beach, and across the 7 hanging valleys.
Right, and we know exactly what you're thinking right now. You hear 7-hour guided group tour, and your brain just, well, it throws up some red flags.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
You picture this massive crowded bus.
Yeah.
You're stuck behind a guide holding like a neon umbrella.
Yeah, checking their watch every 5 minutes.
Exactly. It just feels like a trap. Like, is this going to be an exhausting, rigid hike where I have zero freedom?
I mean, we inherently crave authentic, spontaneous travel, so a strict schedule feels totally counterintuitive to a vacation.
It really does. But we've dissected the itineraries, the geology, and tons of travel reviews to figure out why this specific 45-euro tour is actually the ultimate way to see the Algarve coast.
So our mission today is to transport you straight to those sun-drenched cliffs in Portugal. And let's start right at the beginning. The morning hustle.
The logistics. Because before you can marvel at any ocean views, you actually have to get there.
Right. So you meet up at the giant I Love Faro sign at the Faro Marina. The guides are super easy to spot in these bright blue Flow Adventures uniforms.
And this is where the strictness kicks in immediately. They have an 8:30 or 9 a.m. departure time, and they have a zero-tolerance policy for delays.
Zero tolerance. I mean, they are fiercely explicit about this.
Yeah, but you have to look at why. The tour is capped at a maximum of 8 travelers. And no kids under 12.
Which is a pretty small group.
Exactly. So if you're 15 minutes late, you're not just holding up a faceless bus. You are noticeably disrespecting the other 7 people right next to you.
That makes sense. It feels more like a private tour, really.
It does. Reviewers actually mention that. Plus, that early start is a strategic weapon against the environment. The Algarve in the summer gets punishingly hot by midday.
And crowded, I'm sure.
Oh, totally overwhelmed. So beating the crowds is essential.
Okay, I get the military precision. It's a shield against the chaos of mass tourism. But here is where you totally lose me.
Uh-oh.
You have this strict check-in. You step into this nice air-conditioned van, which, by the way, has USB chargers, so bring your cables.
Always a good tip.
But then suddenly the guide pulls out a karaoke microphone.
Yep. The infamous karaoke mic.
I gotta push back on this. A strict, no-nonsense departure followed immediately by forced singing in a van. That sounds like a bachelorette party clashing with a boot camp.
It is definitely a choice.
I mean, isn't that a bit intense for an 8:30 a.m. nature hike? If I'm clutching my coffee trying to wake up, a karaoke mic is my personal nightmare.
Look, it sounds horrifying on paper. I completely agree. But if you look at the psychology of it, it's actually masterful.
Masterful, really.
Hear me out. Think about a standard tour van. You've got 8 strangers, different languages, different backgrounds, sitting shoulder to shoulder in complete agonizing silence.
Right, everyone is just staring out the window, pretending to be fascinated by the highway.
Exactly. Terrified to make eye contact. The mental energy it takes to maintain that awkwardness is draining.
So the microphone breaks that.
It shatters it. The guides like Eduardo or Arthur, who get praised constantly, they aren't looking for a Grammy performance. They are introducing a low-stakes moment of shared vulnerability.
Ah, so it's intentional.
Yes, it's de-inhibition. By doing something slightly absurd right out of the gate, all the social tension just vanishes.
Wow. So it forces you to be ridiculous instead of earnest?
Right. You're no longer 8 strangers. You're the group that survived a terrible pop song together. And reviewers note how that warm, fun atmosphere pays massive dividends later on the trails.
Okay, I guess I'm convinced on the psychology of the singing van. But let's move to the actual coast, because we have to talk about the biggest caveat of this entire tour.
The cave.
Yes, the Benagil cave. It's arguably the most famous natural structure in the region, that massive dome with the perfect skylight at the top.
It's heavily photographed, yeah.
But this specific excursion is strictly a land tour. You do not get on a boat. You hike the Seven Hanging Valleys Trail, and you view the cave from the cliffs above.
Which throws some people off if they haven't read the itinerary.
It really does.
That-
Let's unpack this, because viewing a sea cave from the top of a cliff feels a bit like going to a sold-out concert, but you're just listening from the parking lot.
That is a harsh analogy.
But isn't it true? Like, are listeners going to feel cheated by not taking a boat inside?
If they just want to replicate an Instagram photo, maybe. But if we look at the reality of getting inside that cave, the land tour is actually a significantly superior experience.
How so?
Well, let's talk about the geology. The Algarve is a karst landscape. It's limestone.
Meaning it dissolves easily?
Exactly. Rainwater mixes with carbon dioxide to form a weak carbonic acid. Over millions of years, it seeps into the rock, hollowing it out.
Right, melting it from the inside out.
Yeah, and at the same time, the Atlantic Ocean is violently crashing into the base of the cliffs. Benagil Cave is just what happens when those two forces meet.
Oh, wow. The ocean carves the bottom, the acid weakens the top?
Yep, until the roof collapses, creating that famous skylight. Geologists call it an Algar.
So it's basically a geological sinkhole with beach access?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But here's the reality of the boat tours. Because it's so famous, the water inside is a nautical traffic jam.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
You've got dozens of diesel-choked motorboats, kayaks, paddleboards, all fighting for space in a tiny, echoing cavern.
That sounds chaotic.
It is. The water's super choppy, people get seasick, and you get maybe 3 minutes to snap a picture before you're rushed out.
Okay, my concert analogy is falling apart. The boat sounds like a fast food drive-through during rush hour.
It really is. Now, contrast that with the land tour. You're not just looking at the result of erosion. You are walking on the mechanism itself.
This is where I got really fascinated reading the reviews. The fossils.
Yes. A reviewer named Road45547 specifically highlighted this. The ancient shell formations embedded in the rocks.
It totally changed my perspective, because this limestone is mostly made of the calcium carbonate skeletons of prehistoric marine life, right?
Exactly. Creatures from millions of years ago in shallow seas, pushed hundreds of feet into the sky by tectonic forces.
So you're literally hiking on top of an ancient ocean floor. You're touching compressed history.
And you just don't get that tactile experience on a boat. The land tour gives you hours to breathe the air, touch the fossils, and really understand the scale of the Seven Hanging Valleys.
It turns a quick photo up into this deep, immersive narrative.
Right. Plus, you get actual downtime. You've scheduled free time at Praia da Marinha to swim, relax on the beach, and just be in the landscape.
You completely dismantled my doubts on this. The clifftop perspective is definitely richer, but we do need to be real about the physical demands.
We do. This isn't a paved boardwalk.
Right. It requires a moderate fitness level. The sources say it's not recommended for pregnant travelers or anyone with back, knee, or respiratory issues.
Yeah. The terrain is uneven, rocky, and totally exposed to the sun. You have to have a baseline of stamina.
Which explains the rule about no kids under 12.
Exactly. It's a physical endeavor. But it's good they are transparent about it so nobody is caught off guard.
But let's talk about what actually elevates a hot physical hike into a seamless experience. We have to talk about the guides.
Oh, the human element. The guides are the structural integrity of this entire tour.
The reviews are wild. People are praising guides like Eduardo, Arthur, and Aaron by name, calling them comedians, historians.
And personal photographers. The booking page literally says, a guide who thinks they're a photographer at no extra charge.
It sounds like you're hiring an Instagram boyfriend who also happens to have a geology degree.
That is surprisingly accurate.
They even give you a survival kit, right? A 50-centiliter water bottle, a cereal bar, and sunscreen. And trekking poles, if you ask.
Yep. They anticipate all your physical needs.
But I'm going to play devil's advocate again. If I can just drive to these cliffs myself for free, how much value does a guide actually add? Why pay 45 euros?
That is the big question for independent travelers. And the answer is decision fatigue.
Decision fatigue.
Yeah. Think about renting a car and driving yourself. You have to navigate foreign roads, find the trailhead, and most importantly, find parking.
Oh, parking in the Algarve in summer. I've heard it's a nightmare.
It is a blood pressure spiking endeavor. You can easily burn an hour just looking for a spot near Marinha Beach.
And then you're acting as your own navigator, constantly checking the map, worrying about time.
Exactly. Your brain is stuck managing logistics, which actively prevents you from just enjoying the scenery.
So you're basically paying to outsource your executive functioning.
Yes. You pay 45 euros to eliminate all that mental friction. The survival kit seems small, but it stops the anxiety of realizing you forgot a snack or sunscreen.
It's the luxury of being fully present.
Right. And as for the photography, a reviewer named Felicity E. talked about spending her birthday on the tour.
Oh, I read that one.
Her guide, Arthur, made it so special. They know the angles, the lighting. You don't have to orchestrate anything or step out of the moment to take a selfie.
They just capture you naturally. It really reframes the cost. You weren't paying for cliff access. You're paying for the mental bandwidth to actually enjoy them.
That's a great way to put it.
All right, so you've hiked, you've bonded, you've learned about fossils. But there is one final adrenaline-pumping surprise on this tour.
The climax of the excursion. The optional cliff jumping.
Just saying, it makes my palms sweat.
Well, to be clear, it's only permitted when the weather, tides, and sea conditions are absolutely safe.
Okay, but here's where it gets terrifying for me. I am the person who hesitates on the high dive at the municipal pool, overthinking the physics until the lifeguard tells me to climb down.
I think a lot of people can relate to that.
So is there this intense peer pressure to jump off a cliff? What if I just want to safely sit on a rock and watch from the sidelines?
That's a totally valid fear. But the environment Flow Adventures creates is radically focused on safety and consent.
So no pressure.
None. The word optional is heavily emphasized. The guides have really high emotional intelligence. If you draw a boundary, they respect it immediately.
Good. So the towel holders are safe.
Completely safe.
Yeah.
But for the people on the fence, the ones who want the thrill but have that high dive hesitation, that's where the guides shine.
Right. Reviewer Nana Sherry called her guide King Arthur because his motivation was so perfect.
Exactly. They provide engineered confidence. They explain the mechanics, check for rocks, and give you that safe final push of encouragement.
It's support, not bullying.
Yes. And think back to that awkward van ride.
The karaoke.
Right. Because of that early icebreaker, if you are sitting on the sidelines holding the towels, you aren't just watching random tourists jump.
You're cheering for the guy who sang off-key at 8:30 in the morning.
Exactly. It becomes this fantastic spectator event built on actual camaraderie.
That is brilliant narrative pacing by the tour company. The rigid schedule isn't there to restrict you. It's there to curate this escalating sense of adventure.
It really is a masterclass in travel design.
Wow. So wrapping up this deep dive on the travel podcast by ExcursionPass, let's summarize what we've learned.
For €45, you get a highly curated 7-hour adventure. Transport, safety, amazing guides, and unparalleled views.
You trade a cramped, choppy boat ride for an immersive geological trek. Just remember to bring your own bigger lunch if a cereal bar won't cut it, plus your beach towels and umbrellas.
And ensure you have that moderate fitness level.
Right. But before we sign off, we want to leave you with a lingering thought about this landscape. We talked a lot about those ancient marine fossils.
It took millions of years of earth-shattering tectonic forces to push that ocean floor up to the sky.
Yeah, and when you look at a massive stone cliff, it feels permanent, unmovable.
But the very forces that created it are actively destroying it. In 2014, a massive section of a cliff nearby just collapsed into the water.
The rock is constantly returning to the sea.
It is.
So when you're standing up there looking down at the waves crashing into those caves, ask yourself, what will this ever-changing coastline look like in another million years?
Are we just temporary visitors in a geological blink of an eye?
It's a humbling thought to carry with you. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Travel Podcast by ExcursionPass. We hope this deep dive has given you the confidence to tackle the Algarve on your own terms. See you next time.